Okay, so moving next is about architect for scale, modularity, releasability, and serviceability. And this very much map to what we call as the in DevOps as a CI/CD pipeline. That SAFe also recommend to have a continuous delivery pipeline, where in the very first stage we should be doing the continuous exploration, wherein uh, engaging and identifying what is the minimum viable product, minimum marketable feature, defining that, and then applying some design thinking principle to come up with the thing which can be taken into the next stage for the continuous integration. Here, uh, for industrial DevOps, there is a term changed a little bit. Instead of continuous, it call it continuous. Why? Because if this is not with the actual hardware, so it may not be the actual continuous integration, but still, as I show in the other slide, using some kind of 3D drawings and breadboards, this can be achieved at least up to some extent. This continuous integration can be achieved. Also, to make sure the compliance, instead of developing something and when it is released and doing a compliance check and finding out the issues, going back, it should be during the continuous integration cycle. There can be a verification and validation and traceability, any kind of static analysis. Those can be done to ensure that it is compliant. And there can be a automated approval stages wherein which automatically do some kind of approvals and reduce the handoff time. Then in terms of deployment, this can be a full pipeline automation, and it should be decoupled. We should decouple the deployment and the release, which is very important. So when we say the deployment here, it could be a just available, it is still not released to the end users, and it should be decoupled so that if we want to say combine, ideally we can release in the, say, if you take any example of software industry, you say the major e-commerce, they do hundreds of release daily. But if we see an example for, say, this physical systems, it may not be possible. So it should be releasable. Everything should be releasable once it is ready. And then when we decide, we should be able to release it. Maybe we combine it in all the changes and then release. But if user want, they can release it each change also. So should be architect for the fault and tolerance. In terms of release, it should be very much available for release on demand. So that's why we decouple it, the deployment and the release cycle, so that if you want to make a release, we can release it. Otherwise, it can be just available. And implement some of the concepts like the feature toggles or canary releases. So when we talk about these systems, then there can be very complex changes where maybe say one change is releasable, the other is not ready yet, but we still want to keep it here. So we can still make the change and the changes may be there, but it's just the feature can be turned off. And then when you think it is completely developed, then it can be turned on, or it can be turned on off based on the user's need also. Then canary releases, these are very much popular in e-commerce sites, but similarly in this also the canary releases are possible. Now many, we see the example of, say, Tesla or any other big organization, they start doing over-the-air updates for the software in the vehicle. So if any feature is developed and organization want to roll out those features only to a set of users to get the feedback before launching it to all the users, it can be done using this kind of canary releases. And yeah, we decouple, release, and stimulate, we already talked about. And Also enabling the value-centric telemetry, and this is very much important. So traditionally, uh, getting any kind of telemetry from this kind of system was very difficult because it's not connected. So, but nowadays, as more and more vehicles are available as a connected vehicles, so this telemetry can be collected, and then this can be further taken as a feedback for this continuous exploration stage to identify that the feature which is developed, how this has been used by the users, is it really used or not used, or even the user behavior also can be analyzed, which will help us to, which can help to improve the product in the further cycles.